So I want to get through that and then open it up for feedback, for comments, for your thoughts. And I know some of you I have spoken with recently, and some of you I have, or some of you have received an email from the Federal Reserve Bank recently, and some of you just have heard from me by email. So I know that everyone is joining with different, I have a couple more in the waiting room, please hold. So everyone is joining with varying levels of knowledge. So I'm gonna just kind of give an overview and share with you what I know in terms of the landscape for the Federal Reserve Bank and Money Smart Week. And then after I tell you what it is that I know, then open it up with some thought starter questions that I would invite feedback on, okay? So first off, I wanna say thanks everybody for joining this morning. For some folks, you know, we miss being together in person. I know I do. For other folks that, you know, can't make it down to the Federal Reserve Bank Detroit branch, at least we're able to be together this way. Hold on, I have a couple more people waiting. So with that, I'm gonna just share with you some of, you know, what's been going on since, really since February, I suppose. We all know that in 2020 Money Smart Week, the official Money Smart Week that is spearheaded by the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago was canceled. And back in, I think it was March, you know, some of us that are on the advisory council gave input to the Fed saying, you know, a lot of our partners are able to deliver information and education virtually, and advocated for allowing us to do that. I think for a lot of reasons, some of which were just a concern for the unknown and what was happening with COVID-19 globally, and the risk of, you know, brand association if partners chose to do in-person events and called them Money Smart Week, and then someone got sick, and how would that affect the Fed? So they just decided to cancel the campaign for 2020. And then over the course of the summer, we did have a few, you know, chair calls and a few advisory calls, advisory council, individual phone calls. And so I know that over the summer, you know, there was work happening in the background, and from the Chicago perspective, I have a couple more people to admit. And about every, you know, couple of weeks, I would reach out asking for additional information, ask for guidance, ask for the status of things. And there was a period of time where things were pretty quiet, and I wasn't sure, you know, what was happening. And as we neared the end of the summer, I became more frequent and a little bit more assertive, let's say, with my requests for information about not only just the campaign and the status of the campaign on a national level, but also about some specific initiatives where, you know, here in Michigan, we've done a lot of innovative things, some of which have actually then been rolled up into a national program. And so, you know, I always try to align what we've done in Michigan with what is happening on the national stage. When I first became chair, I don't know, probably 8 years ago now, you know, things were in a little bit of dissemble, and I've worked really hard to try and keep us, and we've been very aligned with the Fed's Money Smart Week, and you know, the Michigan campaign has just continued to grow and excel and expand and improve pretty remarkably, actually. So So anyway, I have some information I can share, and I haven't seen a public announcement yet, but I felt that since today was supposed to be our Michigan, kickoff meeting for planning of Money Smart Week 2021, I felt it important that we gather and touch base, see where things are, hear from you all. Although I've talked with many of you individually, I do like bringing everyone together. So that's the framework for why I wanted to gather us together today. It was supposed to be our kickoff meeting. Obviously, we're not at the Fed branch in Detroit. In fact, all of their meetings and events have been canceled through the end of December. It's not just the Money Smart Week meeting. Let's see, I have someone who's been trying to get in. And I'm trying to advance my slide. And I don't see why I can't advance my slide. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. I hope it doesn't make me do this every time. That would be really unfortunate. Just may have to do it this way. Because I do think a visual is helpful. It's not letting me put it into slideshow mode. Oh, there we go. Okay. So just to give everyone, some of you have been around since the beginning of Money Smart Week. Some of you are relatively new to the campaign. And then there are some of us who are somewhere in the middle. But the Money Smart Week is the campaign of the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago. And historically, the Federal Reserve Bank was at the top of the hierarchy. If you think about just the structure of how Money Smart Week has happened. And so you have the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago at the top, which is obviously a behemoth organization with responsibility for fiscal policy, and they're the bank's bank. And within their scope, Money Smart Week is this very, very teeny tiny small thing that they do. And then, which was established in 2002, right? It started in Chicago in 2002 with a very small, collective group of organizations. And from that, it grew into a national campaign. And last year, 2019, there were 45 states who had at least some sort of event or planning team. As you all know, Money Smart Week has always been a designated 8-day period in April. So it did fall within the National Financial Literacy Month, which was actually established in 2004 by the US Senate. So the president signs that into every year. So then from the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago, and Money Smart Week being one very, very small initiative that they do, that became from Chicago to a national footprint. And as you know, historically, Money Smart Week partners, which we then, after the most recent website platform change, partners became called supporters. And I don't know if that was a function of the technology or as a function of, a legal department at the Fed who said we can't call them partners. I don't know that. But partners, which I still call our Michigan folks, typically filled one or more of 4 roles. Partners helped with content, they helped with hosting, they helped with promotion and marketing, and or they helped with underwriting of the Michigan campaign and or specific initiatives within our state. So the four legs of the stool, Money Smart Week partners, and this is true across the country, fit into one or more of those four roles: content, hosting, promotion, and underwriting. And you also know that over the years, Money Smart Week has included a blend of in-person events and online programming, whether it was, live webinars or Twitter chats or pre-recorded on-demand content. The programming options have been a combination of both in-person and online. I have someone else waiting to get in. Okay. So, and the content that was utilized for Money Smart Week, for all the years that I've been involved, for the last 8 years, have been a combination of, local delivery primarily. If everybody could just mute their mics, can everybody mute their mics, please? That would be great. Everybody could mute. There we go. So a lot of our partners, they're part of why they exist is because they deliver financial education or debt management counseling or, housing instruction and support and so forth. So a lot of partners, they have their own content that has been, vetted and scrubbed by compliance, and content that they, produce and deliver themselves. Other partners either rely on local partners who have that content and expertise, or they may rely on a variety of national sources, because there certainly is no shortage of, financial education material across the country. And, we can list, there's a long list of acronyms and organizations that provide a variety of content. So historically, Money Smart Week has been a combination of, in-person and online, and it's also been a combination of content produced and provided locally by partners and or supplemented by national resources. And historically, Money Smart Week programs were primarily delivered locally to serve the needs of local communities and consumers. There are some exceptions to that. So a partner may choose to implement a national program. Let's use the Geocache for College Cash, for example, where it was organized and implemented at the national level, but partners could bring it and implement it locally for their college campus. But I would say the vast majority of participation in Money Smart Week specifically was local program delivery. And, so we have, I'm wishing my slides would, so in Michigan, we have had partner meetings throughout the campaign planning to build relationships, to share best practices and tips, the value of networking, to cultivate collaboration, and to more effectively serve our residents, right? To leverage those resources. And we typically have met between, October through April. And then, over some of the years, we have had, some sort of a gathering in the summer, but that was often challenging. So the last couple of years, we haven't done a summer gathering, but often partners have said to me that the value of their association with Money Smart Week was not just about the 8 days and not about the Money Smart Week brand per se, but it was the relationships that they were able to establish, that they utilized throughout the entire year to serve Michiganders. So because of the innovation, the strategic partnerships, and frankly, the dedication of the partners here in Michigan, for the last several years, Michigan has been held up as kind of a model. and trailblazing with innovative programming, and it's been, you know, very successful. So I wanted to, again, I apologize. I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second because it seems like each time. Okay, Linda's trying to give me some instruction here. If I have I do have it. So I'm trying to advance my slides, and Linda is telling me that if I have it up, which I do, I will be able to advance my slides, but because I do have some, so hopefully you all can see this again. Can someone, Derek, can you nod your head, yes or no? Do you see my slide? Okay.
So click from current slide.
Yeah.
Try clicking on the, just try clicking right now.
Okay.
See the, in the lower left corner of the slide, you see that little menu? Is it not letting
Yes. Oh, thank you.
All right.
All right. I told you I was learning. This is my first time. Okay. So again, just to recap, we did have a bunch of people who joined us a few minutes late. So just trying to give folks a historical perspective of the Money Smart Week campaign, where the Federal Reserve Bank is at the top of the hierarchy. And a very small piece of what they do is Money Smart Week, which grew from Chicago to a national campaign. And then within that, of course, Michigan has been a part of Money Smart Week since its second year. So I want to say it was in 2003 that Money Smart Week came to Michigan. But as you can see, oh, Dave is trying to join now. Okay, so the Fed at the top, Money Smart Week, a small piece of what they do, the campaign with a national footprint, and then Michigan as part of the national campaign. Although, as most of you know, the Michigan, really what we have been doing is Money Smart Week, yes, but it's more than that. It is building relationships, it's collaboration, it's sharing best practices, it's leveraging resources. And so we've been part of Money Smart Week, and I've tried really hard to make sure that everything we did in April, as best as possible, aligned with that 8-day period. You know, of course, knowing that that's impossible because so much is being done in Michigan, you can't shoehorn it all into an 8-day window. So that's the historical view. So if we look at the relationships and the results, just from last year, in 2019, as I mentioned a moment ago, there were 45 states that participated in the Federal Reserve Bank's Money Smart Week. And that could mean that there was a single library in a single state that held a story time, or it could mean that there's a full-fledged, you know, planning team like we have in Michigan. So 45 of our 50 states had a Money Smart Week something in 2019. The total national campaign had about 3,800 quote supporters, which again is the new term for what we always had called partners. So in Michigan, although we have more than 500 partners, because you know me, I would rather be conservative with my claims, I know for fact we had over 300 active Money Smart Week partners in the 2019 campaign. We have a lot more partners that are part of, want to be associated with Money Smart Week, but I know that at least 300 were actively participating in that campaign year. So that's about 10% plus of the total partners participating nationally in 2019. The national campaign documented just over 4,000 events during Money Smart Week. And in Michigan, again, conservatively, I can document over 500 programs or events that happened in the state of Michigan. I know the number's higher than that, but for what I can document, I know that Michigan alone represents at least 13% of the national programming in that campaign year. And the Fed estimates that about 152,000 consumers across the country were somehow engaged or touched or participated in a Money Smart Week event or activity. And here in Michigan, again, conservatively, I know and can document well over 33,000 Michigan consumers who were engaged in our programming, which represents about 22% of the national campaign. So just let those numbers sink in for a minute. We represent 2% of the total states. We represent 10% of the total partners. We represented 13% of all events that took place, and we represent 22% of the total number of consumers that were touched in 2019. So if you think back to the former slide where, you know, it's the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago, and then there's this sliver of thing that they do Money Smart Week, which had become a national program, which then Michigan is, you know, one of 45 or 50 states, when in reality, we're this much of the national campaign, right? So I just want to give people that context, that framework. So, and out of the Federal Reserve Bank's annual report, I took these graphics. So this graphic here just shows, you know, Michigan touching over 33,000 consumers, and the other states that were the top 5, the state of Illinois with 22,000. I hope people can see this. You know, West Virginia and Wisconsin pretty close at 16, almost 17,000, and then North Carolina with just under 13,000 consumers reached. And, you know, this is the work being done by local partners, you guys, right? And then on the national scale, the national stage, if you will, the national champions and sponsors, again, that I took out of the 2019 annual report, they included, you know, organizations like the American Library Association, the CFPB, and so forth. And what a lot of folks don't know is that the Michigan campaign brought the national partners that you see listed there, the USDA, which is the cooperative extension. I literally delivered that relationship to the national campaign because of what we had done here in Michigan. We also brought Ally to the forefront with what we had been doing and their phenomenal support of Michigan programming, and the Credit Union Foundation. So those 3 of what is shown as national champions and sponsors originated because of the work we had been doing in Michigan, okay? So let's talk about the future. And again, I apologize, some of you haven't received any public notice from the Fed about what 2021 is going to look like. Some of you have, some of you only have heard from me. I was told last week that there was going to be formal communication coming out from the Fed by the end of the week. Perhaps it's still being vetted by leadership because I don't think a mass communication has gone out yet. But I will share with you what I believe to be true about the Money Smart Week campaign at the national level. What I believe to be true is that Money Smart Week 2021 is going to be 100% virtual. Anything associated with the Money Smart Week brand has to be virtual. I also believe that the Fed is going to issue a set number of programs that they have originated or vetted, and they are going to ask all Money Smart Week partners nationally to promote that set group of offerings. So my understanding is that the Fed's Money Smart Week campaign is going to have a specific group of financial literacy offerings that will be 100% virtual, that they are going to ask all partners to simply promote nationally. That includes Michigan. What I believe they're going to ask partners to do, now this is, again, remember the 4 legs of the stool. So whether you have been a content provider in the past, or a hosting partner in the past, or a promotional partner, or an underwriting partner, I believe the Fed is going to ask all partners to become promotional partners to only promote a set number of virtual options to your networks. I believe they're going to request no partner originate or deliver local programming as part of the National Money Smart Week campaign. When I asked the question, well, gosh, you know, I have partners where maybe that's fine. You know, maybe it's a hosting site and they're doing things virtually too, and they're just looking for something that they can share with their constituents. You know, maybe it's a church who says, I think our parishioners or members would benefit from some webinars on planning for retirement or budgeting. So for some partners, perhaps simply sharing somebody else's content works, right? Maybe that meets their need. But as I believe I know my partners, for a lot of my partners, and I call you my partners, I hope that's not offensive, but the Money Smart Week Michigan partners, that may not be enough because of the mission of their organization. So there might be things within the Fed offerings that work for all partners, but there might be other things that partners are going to do, that they need to do. So I asked the question back. So what happens if partners choose to implement content outside of that narrowly defined group of options provided by the Fed Chicago? And what was shared with me is that anyone who is doing programming outside of, or that is not part of, those sanctioned limited offerings would not be able to use Money Smart Week logo or you know, federal FRBC resources. So what I think is, you know, we still have the Federal Reserve Bank, and this is for Money Smart Week specifically, remember, the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago is still at the kind of top of the relationship. Money Smart Week is this, you know, small consumer facing thing that they do that has become a national campaign within which Michigan has played, is one of 50 players, but really represents this much of the whole. And so I believe that this year, once the you know, public announcement is made, I believe this year that everyone is going to be asked to promote Money Smart Week issued content to their networks and do nothing else as part of Money Smart Week. So as I thought about it, so that to me, it was a little bit, at first I was very disturbed. I was very confused, I'll be honest. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized, you know what? I think we've regarded this incorrectly, because I have someone else who's just joining. Because I've worked so hard at branding Money Smart Week and bringing so many partners to the table, because I'm all about making room at the table. Everybody's welcome at my table, right? Everybody is welcome at the financial empowerment table of Michigan, right? So if we think about the relationship where the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago is at the top and Money Smart Week is the focus, and here in Michigan, we've been working for years on how do we put our square peg in their round hole. I think we have the relationship upside down, because we will do Money Smart Week, right? We're going to continue to have an affiliation with Money Smart Week, and for partners where it makes sense, of course, I will completely support and assist and help and encourage the usage of the content provided by the Chicago Fed within the 8-day window that they have designated. But I have this aha moment, and I know it sounds silly because it's so obvious, that what Michigan has been doing is really bigger than Money Smart Week. We have been meeting year round. We have been collaborating year round. We have been sharing resources. We've been connecting. We've been building relationships. We've been delivering high quality education. We've been inclusive. Everybody is welcome around our table. We just keep getting a bigger table because we got to make room for everybody. And we've been serving Michigan's consumers in really creative, unique, innovative ways to do the most good with the resources we have. So we have embraced, in Michigan, we have been embracing Financial Literacy Month for a long time, right? And subsumed within that exists Money Smart Week. But within that also exists a whole lot of awesome things happening that don't fit within an 8-day window, or don't fit within whatever these newly defined requirements will be of Money Smart Week. So as I thought about it, I thought, you know, the focus of our efforts need to be our Michigan partners and our Michigan consumers. That's who is central. And how do we best leverage our resources to do the most good for the most people here in Michigan? So I guess I'm thinking about the relationship differently. So the Federal Reserve Bank, yes, is an important institution for a lot of reasons. And yes, Money Smart Week is important for a lot of reasons. But the needs of our Michigan consumer doesn't just fit in an 8-day window. So I think we need to keep doing what we've been doing. And those of you who've been around a long time know that I've worked really hard to, you know, work within a structure that didn't always allow for all of the things that we were trying to do. And so sometimes we just didn't exactly fit in the 8-day window, or, you know, we did it our own way so that it would work, because we have work to do. So I guess after speaking with some of you one-on-one and getting comments and feedbacks from others, here in Michigan, what I believe is that we need to continue collaborating, continue working together, continue sharing best practices and resources, expand our thinking so that we're not so uber focused on Money Smart Week per se, but we're all working together, yes, year round, but I do think, and someone mentioned, there is value to having a common focus, right? That has timelines and specificity while we're still doing our ongoing day-to-day work. So since we have been pretty much using the month of April for the last couple of years here in Michigan, you can't fit 500 programs, 500 events into an 8-day period. So we have just organically, without really saying it, we have organically been embracing Financial Literacy Month, which again is that national proclamation, right, since 2004. That's what we have been doing. And within that, when we can and where it makes sense, we have been doing Money Smart Week. And there are a whole host of other things that partners are doing, right? There's Show Me the Money Day. And I know a lot of my partners are doing Show Me the Money Day every year. But because it didn't fit within our framework, that was separate, right? We didn't really talk about that because we were so focused on talking about Money Smart Week. You know, there's so much content. The FDIC has their Money Smart curriculum, and NEFI puts out a lot of material, and the CFPB. Well, now the Federal Reserve Bank is going to put out content that people can use as well, right? So my thinking is we should keep doing what we've been doing, but regard it differently. So Michigan consumers and our financial partners, financial empowerment partners, are central. All of Money Smart Week, or all of April, which is the National Financial Literacy Month, includes Money Smart Week, but all of Financial Literacy Month is our scope, which is also quite freeing because it gives us more flexibility without feeling like, oh gosh, we have to try and shove, 30 pounds of sugar into a 5-pound bag. One of my grandmother's favorite sayings. And so as I'm looking at this fresh, after the initial kind of, shock wore off, and the more I ruminated on it, I thought, you know what? We've been doing more than Money Smart Week for a number of years. We just haven't really called it. We haven't named it. We haven't formalized it. So it seems to me that partners are going to continue doing what you do, that is your calling and is your mission, and will be part of Money Smart Week where it works for you. If you're able to be a promoter of those defined options. But I also think that there are a lot of people, and my fear is that if Michigan doesn't keep doing what we've been doing, and we just say, okay, well, gosh, for 2021, Money Smart Week, unless you're going to promote the Fed's defined offerings, that's it. We can't do anything else. Well, why can't we? I guess I had the conversation with myself. My fear is if we just say, you know what, if you're not going to promote the defined offerings of the Federal Reserve Bank, then you're not a partner. Just think about how disheartening that was for me after the 8 years of blood, sweat, and tears, and some of you longer, the momentum that we have built, the relationships that we have established, the good work that we are doing. If we just say, unless you're gonna promote those narrowly defined options, there's no place at the table for you. I can't say that. That's not something I'm going to do. So regarding it differently, in my mind, means kind of say what we've been, right? Do and say what we've been doing without the constraints and, without whatever the narrowly defined offerings that have yet to be shared with me. I don't know what they are. I've been asking for details, and I'm not sure they're ready yet. So, but we need to have our own Money Smart Michigan month, right? Nationally, it's Financial Literacy Month. I have strong feelings about the word literacy, which we can talk about another time. And within Money Smart Michigan month, certainly Money Smart Week is important, but so is Show Me the Money Day. And so is all of the other things that every single one of you are going to do in the month of April that may not fit in this new construct. So that's all in terms of formalized or prepared content. It's not even really formalized. It's just me having been thinking about this nonstop now for about 6 days. Trying to get my head around I believe where things are going for 2021, and who knows, like beyond, right? None of us can predict what 22 or 23 or 24 will look like. So just based on what I believe to be true for the 2021 Money Smart Week campaign, but could be for years beyond that. I have no way to know that. They may say that going forward, Money Smart Week is only this set number of initiatives that people can utilize or promote. I don't know, and maybe they don't know, right? We're all learning on a daily basis. So as I was preparing for my time with you guys this morning, some of the thoughts that were kind of rolling around in my head is, do you believe there's value in continuing to connect with others who are working in this financial wellness space on an ongoing or some sort of regular basis? Would you like to continue gathering, online for now, right? That's something that I don't disagree with, making Money Smart Week 2021 virtual. Do we want to continue gathering on a monthly basis online to continue cultivating relationships and sharing best practices and resources and programming ideas? Would you all, I guess, asking for feedback on my thinking, would you like our efforts here in Michigan to be inclusive of Money Smart Week as part of embracing all of Financial Literacy Month? What do you think about formally establishing like a Michigan Financial Education Network or a Michigan Financial Wellness Network for folks like you that are doing this work on a daily basis? What are your thoughts around doing that? And it would be just like our Money Smart Week activity or planning meetings, right? We did them once a month, but instead of calling them and simply focusing on Money Smart Week, again, regarding it differently, but continue that work, but formalize it with a different moniker, a different name. And what do you think about this network working together with a shared focus on Money Smart Michigan Month, right? Subsumed within that, of course, is Money Smart Week. And so I guess at this point, I'm just interested, especially for those of you who have been around a long time and have actively participated. I'm gonna stop talking because that's when the magic happens, and take a drink of my coffee and mute myself. And I don't know how to do this most effectively. I'm gonna ask for comments, thoughts, feedback from you guys. Unless there's a more organized way to do that, I'm just gonna mute myself.
Hi, Kelly. This is Carrie Gilchrist from Oakland University Student Financial Services. We partnered last year with you, or well, I guess it was earlier this year, or no, yeah, it was earlier this year, for the financial aid presentations. We worked through Michigan Works offices in Oakland and Macomb counties. And we ended up switching to virtual for the events. So we actually still had them, but they were online and we had great attendance. I'm definitely all for doing a Money Smart Michigan and having Money Smart Week being promoted within that larger context. And we would still love to partner and do the financial aid night presentations, and whether they're virtual or in person eventually, then, but we would love to do that. I do need to leave for another meeting, so I apologize, but I wanted to get that in there, that I think that's a great idea and we'd love to participate.
Well, thank you so much for joining for the time that you could, and thank you for your feedback.
Sure, thanks.
Kelly and everybody, this is James Studinger, and from Jumpstart and just my own company as well. Kelly, I think you're right on track with what you're thinking of doing. I think it's going to be phenomenal, and I'd love to continue to help out with it. As you're talking, I'm envisioning a huge effort that we can do with all of these people on this call today, and others that haven't made it yet. I think we can collaborate, put together some phenomenal little videos, host them on a website, have a YouTube channel, have a tremendous amount of content from all the people on this call and others, and really make a big splash in Michigan, not only for 2021, but establish a framework of something that we can build on throughout the year, have content available throughout the year and the years to come. So I think you're totally on the right track with this, and I'd love to continue to help out with you on it.
Well, thank you. Thanks for being here. And, you know, over the last few years, spearheading the Run for the Money. I'm not sure, maybe we'll do a virtual Run for the Money this year. I see people are doing them. So, but thank you for that, that feedback.
Kelly, it's Heather Doring, and I have to say, we spoke last week about this for a little bit, but I've been ruminating myself, and I'm actually relieved that this is the direction things are going, because there have been a lot of constraints, like you said, trying to fit into a mold that doesn't necessarily reflect our goals here in Michigan. And so I think that this is a huge opportunity, not only for partners, but for residents of the state as well. So I'm excited about the new direction.
Oh, thanks, Heather. Awesome. And anyone who doesn't know, Heather has been leading our Money Smart Fempreneur Summit, which has been amazing over the last several years. And we are doing it virtually on Monday, October 12th. So it's kind of a big lift, but we're going to do it. And we're going to have, many dozen women business owners participating. We've got phenomenal speakers. Without geographic boundaries. That's kind of one benefit, right, of being virtual. So thank you for joining this morning, Heather, and thank you for that, that feedback.
Good morning, everyone. Liza here. I just wanted to reiterate what James says, and I'm on board with the direction that you're going, and being on board with helping you get there. And additionally, with the Fempreneur Summit, Heather has proven that change is possible, and she's outstanding at turning this into a virtual event and just running with it. So I fully support any changes you've made, and the kudos to Heather and the team for making these changes in such a short amount of time and being so professional and doing such a great job of it.
Thanks, Liza.
Thanks for joining us and for the feedback. I'm just going to lob one more thing out there. Some of you know, and some of you don't. The structure of Money Smart Week has ebbed and flowed over the years in terms of, state leadership. And when I was recruited by Alejo, gosh, it's been 8 or 9 years ago now, to bring the kind of leadership and guidance to this campaign that I had done for way back in 2006. I was working with, which was then, I think it was OFER, and then it was OFIS, and now it's the Securities Division of the Licensing and Regulatory Affairs Department at the state of Michigan. And also the Department of Insurance and Financial Services. They asked me to come aboard and lead Money Smart Week to grow it, to strengthen it, to repair some damaged relationships that had happened many years ago before my time. So I've been doing this since, well, for 8 years, I believe. And many of you know I do not work for a separate organization, right? I don't work for a bank. I don't work for a credit union. I don't work for the government. I am independent, which has a lot of benefits. It allows me to play in everybody's sandbox. It allows me to gather everybody around the same table. But it also means that we need funding, because as much as I do work pro bono, I cannot work for free. So I put out there that to develop this kind of new and bigger and better endeavor, we are going to need some funding. And we have been incredibly blessed over the last several years. Since 3 or 4 changes ago at the Fed and their structure for Money Smart Week, with partners and sponsors stepping forward to help fund what we've been doing in Michigan, both from banks and credit unions and not-for-profit organizations, government agencies, all putting forth financial support to the degree that they could to support this. So I just put that out there as something else to think about, because is what I'm hearing, and I do want to, we still have plenty of time. I want to hear from anybody else who has comments about my kind of blathering, just sharing of my thoughts and proposed direction. But I just want to put that out there so that if there are some creative ideas for funding what we're talking about, those are going to be crucial as well. So we don't have to have a funding conversation now, but that needs to come as a sidebar in the future. So I know there are others on the call who have valuable perspectives that they can add. So I'd love to hear from you.
Kelly, I just want to say on that note, if having you be able to help spearhead this and put this together for all of us to be able to provide content for all the thousands of people in Michigan that are going to get it, I'd like to see, what the framework or the cost structure would be, but I totally want to support you being able to do this. And I'm sure there would be a lot of people that would want to do that as well. It's just way too valuable and too big of a platform to be able to let it just slide away. And obviously you're crucial to tying the whole thing together. So it's necessary to keep you involved in it. Obviously, without you, it doesn't happen. And let's see what that would look like. And I definitely want to help out with that. And I'm sure there's plenty others that would as well.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. Yeah, we'll follow up on that funding piece. And I want to get feedback from everybody else about just the idea, if you see, concerns or issues, or if you have, other, thoughts or things that I haven't thought about, feel free to raise those now. But thank you, James. We'll definitely, we'll talk money. But who else has thoughts to add?
I do. My name is Mark Blocker. I like the direction that you're going. It just seems like it's with the time period and everything. It's a good way to go. And so I feel like that with everything going on right now, I did have a question though. What about social media, using different social media platforms to market for 2021? Do you think that's going to be prominent now, or do you feel like?
Yeah, I'm sure the Fed, both at the Fed level and at least for Michigan, I can't speak to other states, but I can say that leveraging social media has been an increased activity over the last several years for sure. And so and I see going forward, I see both social media being used for both purposes, right? For promotional purposes as well as content delivery purposes. I mean, we've got libraries and others who are using, Facebook live and Twitter and, you know, to deliver actual content, as well as from for a promotional tool. So, so for sure, I think that's going to continue. I wouldn't imagine that that will stop.
Hey, Kelly, it's Lori.
Hi, Lori.
Hi. So I think this is a reasonable, thoughtful direction for this to go. And I've long felt like Money Smart Week was really Money Smart Month, and it's like a bigger thing than that one particular week. One of the things I was just pondering or will have to consider is, of course, one of the things that's been helpful with Money Smart Week is being able to collect and report on the numbers of programs. And so for collective impact, there's that benefit of having a way to capture that data to be able to do the report like you did at the beginning. So that's one of the things that will have to be thought about in terms of a new or different way to kind of still be able to share that impact as a group.
For sure. And so as we've, you know, how do I say this delicately? So every April, you know, I spent an enormous amount of time begging, cajoling, threatening, begging some more, right, for partners to make sure their events were input, you know, do some attendance recording. And so for the, as I see it, at least for 2021, and who knows the future, but if the Fed is choosing to have a virtual Money Smart Week that is only their content, one of the things that I see that's been very valuable that will be going away, at least in the short term, is the collective events calendar or the collective program offering list, right? Where everybody put their events, because we all have it's very fragmented without that, right? So everybody has their own, there's an extension calendar and there's this calendar, and then, you know, on this website you can find these programs. But if people are willing to simply then enter those things into a central place, there's power in that, right? Where everybody can drive to their own site, but we can also drive to a common location. And so I've had some initial discussions with a couple partners, Derek being one of them, about where, you know, how I can do that. So yeah, so don't have answers yet, but for sure, I am on board with and thinking about that as well. So it's not just the gathering together of the people and the networking and the sharing, but I think there's value in have a centralized place where everything happening in April in Michigan can be found. Thank you for joining this morning and for raising that, because that is an important piece, but I do think there's value in having that.
And then I guess just to build off of it a little bit, I know they're going to have their specific projects or programs that they're promoting. I know as you're continuing to sort of find things out, one of the questions I see Colleen asked was about, you know, using the name or the larger events. So I guess clarifying which ones maybe we're allowed to use or which ones we're not in moving forward, so we're not, you know, in conflict too.
Right. Right. Yeah. And so I'm sure they're going to be part of what might be, you know, delaying this formal or public new way of doing things might be that they are trying to put some specificity around logo usage and things like that. So, but yeah, it was in a private conversation, it was made fairly clear to me that if a partner chooses to do something of their own or outside of the scope defined by the Fed, they would not be using the Money Smart Week logo. And so obviously I will support that. And, but for those who choose to promote the Fed's Money Smart Week offerings, I guess that allows them the right to use that logo. But for the, you know, probably 90% of everything else that we do in Michigan, we'll come up with our own thing, right? Money Smart Michigan Month, and within that we have Money Smart Week offerings. So I don't see, and frankly, this is a structure that exists in other states, right? There are other states who have large financial wellness networks of providers who collaborate and work together, who have Money Smart Week as one of the things that they include in their focus. So I'm not taking credit for innovating this. It just took me a while to ruminate and process what I saw as changes coming. And I've had conversations with Money Smart Week state chairs in other states just in the last week about this very thing. I've had conversations with very large, successful financial education networks in other states to see how does that work? What's the relationship? Because I was thinking along these lines and I thought, gosh, there's got to be other people who have had this epiphany before me. So yeah, so I think that what might be taking a while for a formal or public proclamation or whatever, it might just be them thinking through how do they position and what the requirements and restrictions are going to be. And I see, I now see the chat. I didn't have the chat open. I apologize, Colleen, and everyone who had posted in there. I didn't see the chat at first. So I do believe that there are going to be large scale events. Like right now, the Fempreneur Summit that was supposed to happen in April, and we pushed it to June, and then we had to push it to October. We're doing it. And I think it's going to be phenomenal. And we're going to learn a lot so that next year, it's going to be even stronger. Now, they may not fall within the Money Smart Week guidelines, but they're certainly going to fall within the Michigan effort of financial wellness. Oh, Aurelia, hi, thank you. Yeah, we'll definitely have a conversation. Yeah, definitely. We need to re-energize the conversations, Ms. Cooper, that we were having about a year ago, for sure. Now is the time for, if this is what everyone wants to do. So again, I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna mute and see. There are lots of other folks on the call. If anyone has any other comments or questions.
Good morning, Kelly and everyone. This is Aurelia from Lara Corporation Securities Commercial Licensing. I am just ecstatic to hear this opportunity. I would love to see something to grow. You are an essential here in Michigan, Kelly, and I see the partners that you've already teamed together, and I hope that we do something here in Michigan. These are wonderful ideas, as James suggested, and others, of what to do and what we're already doing. I humbly just want to be a part of it in a way that, of course, I have to follow the steps within the State Department, but I do encourage some type of an application. Yeah, we'll talk later about it. But just wanted to just give my 2 cents as to that I do support what it looks like to appear as a team of strength for Michigan in regards to literacy in under finances, securities, and funds. I hope we, and I look forward to the opportunities that this team has to offer.
Well, Aurelia, I have to say I was thrilled to see your name pop up in the waiting room. So it was great to have you this morning, and you're definitely on my short list of folks to chat with about helping to fund this. It seems as though folks have are endorsing the direction, and yeah, so I'm excited. We'll find a time to chat, hopefully maybe even early next week. Thanks for joining this morning. I'm thrilled. The last time you were the last couple meetings you tried to come to Detroit, we had snowstorms. So maybe this is better for a lot of people.
Yeah.
All right, there's almost 20 more people still on the call. So I'm just trying to read the chat while I'm reading. Okay, Sharma, thanks. I'm glad you could join us this morning as well. Or Carrie, she's already spoken. So I'll pause in a minute for anybody who wants to have any other final questions or thoughts or comments or concerns. All of it's good. So we had on the schedule, let's see. I think I just lost my meeting. James, can you hear me? Thumbs up if you can hear me. Yeah, okay. So I just had, something just gave me a glitch. But we had had on our calendar the next planning meeting, which I am happy to keep on the calendar and happy to do another Zoom. And by, what was it, November 10th, which is a Tuesday morning, that was what was previously scheduled, and I'm happy to keep that meeting. And by that time, certainly we will have more specificity. Certainly we'll have more direction from the Federal Reserve Bank. And within the next month, obviously, you know me, I'm going to keep working along. And this is so strange. I can't see. I have no controls anymore. So it just went boop. Someone just told me that, well, Zoom did an update, so there could be some glitches this morning. Fantastic. The first day I'm leading a Zoom meeting and they decide to update the night before. So hopefully everyone has that on their calendar, November 10th. If you don't, please add it. And I'll see, you know, between now and then, if we can start, if I can establish a better way of communicating out. You know, and maybe I can do it within the Money Smart Week platform, but I'm starting to feel like we need to have it not as part of the Fed platform, perhaps, I'm not sure. The way I communicated this time was just literally through a Gmail, sending only 50 at a time when I've got, you know, 500 email addresses. It took a bit of time. So I'm glad those of you who could join us were able to be here this morning. And I apologize for stammering, but my meeting controls have disappeared. So does anyone have any parting comments, thoughts, questions? It is only 9:40. We have time, but there's no point in everyone just sitting here unless you want to. Oh, I'm just now, I think we're just getting ready to adjourn. So James, can you fill Molly in a little bit later? Because I just saw her in the waiting room, so she may need your updates, okay?
Sure thing.
All right, folks, well, that's all I have. You all can reach me. You have my contact information. Thank you again for joining this morning and for your suggestions, your ideas, your yeah buts, right? Always trying to see what I'm missing is valuable. So I hope you guys have a great day and stay safe, and contact me in the interim if you need anything, but let's plan to get together again on Tuesday, November 10th, the week after the election.